Hey, how's it going, guys? James here for Paint Games and Cardboard, and welcome to our very first, I'm going to call these 10-minute board game reviews, where I sit down and I review a board game and tell you guys my thoughts and feelings behind them. And so for my very first one, I wanted to do, a newer game, Gloomhaven Bugs and Buttons. And so, yes, this is literally the size of the game. If you've ever played the original, Gloomhaven, you know how large the box is. So, how well did they do with converting all of the stuff from Gloomhaven into something in a small package? Well, you're about to find out my thoughts on this. And so let's get to it. All right, folks. So for these reviews, I'm guess I'm gonna use my cell phone for these, just so that way I can kind of go around the table and show you guys everything that's going on with the game, right? And so I guess for those who are not well versed in Gloomhaven, these are dungeon crawling games. So what that means is that you are going to create a character, you're going to go into a dungeon, and you're going to play through them. Now, in the typical Gloomhaven, so as an example, that's the box for Frosthaven. As you can see, it's pretty large. It is a game for 1 to 4 players. Well, in Bugs and Buttons, they decided to make it a single-player solo game that you can sit at a in an airport or wherever and just sit there and get the feeling of Gloomhaven in a small box, right? Now, what's pretty cool about it is me and my girlfriend, Kira, who hopefully will grace the channel at some point, her and I actually have turned this into a cooperative type endeavor. So where we will both sit down and one of us will control the monsters and the other one will control the character. And that way we can both actually experience Bugs and Buttons at the same time. Now, cool thing here is, so at the beginning of any mission, or as you play the game, you're going to have a scenario deck. And so this is your scenario deck. And you have to read through them basically from top to bottom, right? And it's going to explain, like, what's going on, like, what your goal is. So, like, each mission will have, like, battle goals. So this one was, like, defeat a bandit guard. So this is our pile of ones that we finished, so I didn't want to get them mixed up. And so after you read the top part of your mission, what's going to happen? So in this case, like scenario 1, you'd read all the way down, right? And then you'll get your goals. Well, you don't read the bottom until you finish it, right? Well, you flip it over, and on the back side will be your mission. And so the pretty cool thing here is it's going to show like traps. If there's a monster, you put different colored cubes on here, so that way you can keep track, because these actually match the color of the dials up here. And so you'll play through the mission like a normal dungeon crawler. Now, in Gloomhaven, it's actually a card-based system. So you actually have levels here on the bottom for your character, and you will have a hand of cards. Every card that you play has a top and bottom action. So like here we have backstab, and then like here is a movement card, right? And so one of them is going to be an attack, and one of them is going to be a movement, and they have like initiative values and things like that. And so that's how you're actually going to figure out what order characters and things actually activate. Unlike Gloomhaven, so I'm just going to assume people have played Gloomhaven or know anything about. In Gloomhaven, normally when I play a card, it's going to go away. It's going to be create a discard pile, right? And so kind of point of the game is to manage your cards, and ultimately what's going to happen is all your cards are going to completely disappear, and that's kind of like your life total. If you're familiar, like video games, like your hit point values, it's like almost like a way to match rounds, right? Because you do have a hit point value where you die if you die, but if you run out of cards, you also die. But the cool thing with Bugs and Buttons is when I play the front side of a card, what's going to happen is on the cleanup phase at the end of the turn, these flip over and they have an alternate side with different abilities. And the cool thing is, each mission will tell you, but you actually have level 1 and level 2 cards. So you actually end up having, I believe, because this character here, I want to say you have a total of 8 cards. Yeah, I think it's 8 cards, but you only I only play with 4, right? So it makes it really fast paced and really quick to get through. And then the other cool thing is that so if you've ever played any of the Gloomhaven games, you actually get items that you can equip. Well, in Bugs and Buttons, as you finish the missions, your completed missions turn into your item deck. So if I want to equip these, all I do is I will slide these, underneath my character like that. And so here I've got a bottle cap helm, right? And so kind of like in Gloomhaven, like I can have weapons, I can have armor, stuff like that. So which is pretty freaking neat. It's pretty cool. So and then yeah, beyond that, you have hit point dials, to track the different enemies and their hit points. And then normally Gloomhaven actually has a system of cards. They're called modifier cards. Instead of using dice to figure out what's going on like D&D, you would use cards to figure out like modifiers like +1, -1, damage, so on and so forth. In this game, you actually use a dice, but the dice changes every round. So here is actually my enemies, and then here's my character. What will happen is when I roll this dice, so here I got a plus, right? That matches the row, and so I get a +1 to this attack, and then after this attack resolves, it moves down, and so the next time I roll this dice, it changes. And so it'll keep going down. Cool thing here is that the way that they added in the level up bonuses that you are used to from Gloomhaven and stuff is you actually have modifier cards that as you level up your character, it actually changes the rows, which is really, really awesome. And so obviously your dice rolls become better and better as the game progresses and you get stronger and stronger, right? Same thing, they've also added a way to level up or level down the monsters. So you can make them easier, so that way they get like harder modifiers, or like if I wanted to play hard, you can see here, they get more positive modifiers. And so yeah, it's a dungeon crawling game. You're gonna crawl through dungeons, and then when you finish this entire deck here, I believe there's about 20 missions. Let's see. Yeah, there was 20 scenarios. You finish 20 scenarios, you finish the game, and you can play through. There's 6 different characters for you to choose from, and they all match the characters from the base Gloomhaven game, which is really, really awesome. You get these neat little miniatures here, which, ultimately I'm going to end up painting these at some point. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So what are my thoughts? Well, let's roll to the back. All right, so what are my thoughts of Bugs and Buttons? Ultimately, I think that they really captured the essence of Gloomhaven in a small box. I thought it was really clever for them to convert the cards into dice rolling mechanics, and that it still captures that feeling of Gloomhaven, where it's not the feel bads of D&D, where like, oh, I rolled a 1, so like I catastrophically failed, and then like my whole party died. It's also fast because like there's only up to 3 monsters in any given scenario, so it plays through very, very, very quickly. I think in the 4 scenarios that we finished, it took us like maybe a little over an hour, and that was us playing together, right? Like me controlling the monsters and her controlling the character, and the rules are very much like Gloomhaven. So if you've played any of the Gloomhaven games, anything like the status effects and things like that will be extremely familiar to you. The way the monsters activate and operate and stuff will be extremely familiar to you. And I will say it feels a lot less punishing than Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is notorious for being kind of difficult in the beginning, and then progressively gets easier as you like learn more and more of the mechanics, or more like ways to abuse the system, more or less. And I think it's really cool that they tied in all the initial characters. For you guys who don't know, Gloomhaven 2.0 is actually, so this was part of the Kickstarter, but 2.0 is coming out, and the characters and the way they operate are going to operate more like the 2.0 versions versus the 1.0 versions. And it's pretty cool to see some of the new mechanics and things that they kind of tied in, because there is elements and other things. I just didn't want to complicate this review way too much. So my feelings and thoughts, very positive. I think that this game is excellent. It's a nice small board game if you're a dungeon crawler, if you love RPGs, if you love D&D. This is very much up your alley, 100%. It's also a good way to introduce people to dungeon crawling games. It's not difficult. It's easy to play. The mechanics are nice and neat. And then the cool thing is, if you are a huge lover of Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, like me, it's a way to get other players to play it, experience it, get used to the lore or the types of characters and stuff in the game. And then if they like that, then you can introduce them to the bigger game, right? Gloomhaven and Frosthaven are not for the lighthearted. They are very involved games. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of dedication. You have to dedicate yourself to playing those games. And the cool thing is you could play them by yourself, but they're much more fun with other people. Me and Kira, like we've taken to playing 2 characters each in Frosthaven. That way we could experience all the characters before we finish the game. And it's been a lot of fun, right? So my thoughts, Bugs and Buttons, definitely give it a buy. If you're a board gamer, if you're an RPGer, if you like strategy games, if you like any type of role playing, 100% please get this game. I know it's not available yet for separate purchase, but it will be. So definitely give this one a try and let me know what you guys think down in the comments. But yeah, hopefully for my very first 10 minutes review of a board game, this is a good one. And yeah, might have to tweak it a little bit in the future for some of the larger, more complicated games, right? Because I want to explain what the game's about, but also tell you guys my thoughts. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video here on Paint Games and Cardboard. Why do I have to think of that?